Hello folks, pay per mile road tax or vehicle excise duty, whatever you want to call it, is something that's been spoken about for a little while. There's a general consensus that it's about to appear or at least be announced in this October budget that's coming up. And whilst some people seem to think it's a good idea, I don't think many of them have really considered what the price of it may be. I've said for a long time that be careful what you wish for, because this could sting everybody, and I mean everybody. Some things to consider. Consider the cost of administering this system. If they purely do it on your MOT every year and see how many miles a car's done, people will simply get their cars clocked. That's already a massive problem in this country, and by introducing a tax that's reliant on your odometer reading, it will only get much worse. If they use some kind of black box technology, someone will quickly come up with a fix. So to me, the only way they could really do it in a meaningful way is to use ANPR technology. That means number plate readers on police cars, in streets, all over the place. Now, there are already loads of those for things like congestion charging, ultra low emission zones, all that kind of thing. But they'd have to roll it out nationwide, and we'd have to see many more of those cameras being installed. Governments know how to spend public money very, very badly. Efficiency is not key generally when spending public money, and obviously things go out to big tenders, and someone in Parliament knows a man who sits on a board, or is a man that sits on a board, and these things tend to get a little bit inflated, don't they, without saying too much. And I can see this costing billions to actually start at kind of square one. Let's also not forget that they're trying to punish people in the most polluting vehicles and take the foot off the gas slightly, pardon the pun, for people with zero tailpipe emissions vehicles. So will it be that there's a standard fixed tax, something like we've got now, depending on the emissions of your vehicle, and then the pay per mile on top of it? What hasn't been considered by a lot of people though is that cost per mile. So I've done one of my lovely spreadsheets to help bring it to life for you. What a joyous day this is. Let's have a look. So over here we've got the rate per mile that they may charge you as tax, and then we've got annual mileage here. Now people seem to think the average mileage in the UK is 12,000 miles. It's not. Depending on where you read it, it's between 6,800 and 7,400. I trust the 7,400, so pay particular attention to column C here, because this is the average in the UK. In fact, I'm going to highlight that one because that is the average mileage, and that's probably the one that's going to affect most of you, given that it's the average. So 2p per mile, you're looking at £100 a year if you do 5,000 miles a year. If you're on the average, 150 quid a year. 30,000 miles, that's £600 a year. Don't forget, I'm sure this will be in addition to you still paying fuel duty and VAT on petrol and diesel, VAT on public charging for those in electric cars. So this is not going to replace other taxes, I'm sure. I'm sure this is going to be an additional tax. Then let's have a look. If we go to 3p, that's 225 quid a year, 150 if you're only doing 5,000 a year. But lots of people are talking about 8 and 9p. So that's £400 a year if you're doing 5,000 miles, 600 if you're doing 7,500 miles. If you're doing 12.5, you're looking at £1,000 a year. 30,000 miles, £2,400 a year. Go up to 9p and that picture gets considerably worse. Now imagine you're a business that does deliveries all across the nation, or you have to travel around to do presentations and things. Obviously that work you're doing is generating lots of tax for the exchequer. You're providing employment. Perhaps you're an employee that has to do this to go to work. You're paying lots of tax on your income. You're generating tax in whatever it is you're doing, whatever good or service you or your business or the business you work for is providing. If we start putting huge amounts more tax onto people, it may reduce the amount of work they do. It may mean that they stop travelling the country to go and win new contracts and they keep the business local. Very few people understand just how thin the bottom line is for so many businesses out there right now. You only have to look at how world events have had an effect on the cost of everything we buy in a supermarket. Now you imagine that taxation on the logistics side of things goes through the roof. it's only going to get much, much worse. So keep all this in mind, folks. This is not a good thing, in my opinion. 15 pence per mile is being touted by loads of online news sources in the last day or two. I don't know where they're getting it from. I'm sure it's just a bit of kind of guesswork, but 15p a mile is being touted. It seems insane. 750 quid a year if you're doing 5,000 miles a year, 1,125 on the average mileage, and then if you go up to 30,000 miles a year, 4.5 grand a year. Even on 12,500, which is not a huge mileage at all, £1,875. Now, if this came in, don't forget it's got to be on top of something to do with the emissions for your car, because if not, you can just go around, drive around in a 1960s tractor rather than your Tesla, and nobody's going to give a monkeys. And we've been being told for a long time now that we need to clean up the air. Air quality is a massive problem, etc. So there will be some kind of base layer underneath this for sure, based on the kind of car you're driving. You know, the numbers could be insane here. The fact of the matter is, folks, none of us know, and I've made this video purely because so many people, whenever I mention road tax and possibly pay per mile, so many people come along and say, well, I only do 4,000 miles a year, so I don't care. Well, would you care if it was costing you 750 quid a year instead of 200? Probably. So be careful what you wish for. We'll keep our powder dry at the moment. October could come and go, and the Chancellor comes out and says, oh, actually, I'm going to give you all free air fresheners because I love motorists because they contribute so much to the economy. But I doubt that's going to happen. And when the bad news does come, there'll be another video then. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give this a thumbs up. That's really important. I don't get enough of those, so please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you're really lovely, you can consider becoming a channel member. Thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Huge thanks to all my channel members for your continued support. I really do appreciate it.